hard to know where to start. I guess to tell the story of the Good Friday murder through my eyes, I gotta start here.
Wake Up Dead Man is the newest Knives Out mystery from Rian Johnson, a whodunit set in a church. And it is one of my favorite movies of 2025 because underneath the mystery, this movie is asking a resurrection question. Now, here's what the movie knows that a lot of us don't. There are two ways to get a dead man out of a tomb. You can either stage it, or it can actually happen. You can stage a resurrection, or you can receive one. So the movie opens by showing us two worldviews. You know both because they get taught everywhere, in politics, at work, in your family, even in church. The first one says, it is us against the world. The world is a wolf, so put your hands up. The second says, this, not this. Open arms, not fists. In the Gospels, Jesus doesn't pick one and pretend the other doesn't exist. He looks at his followers and says this in Matthew 10, verse 16. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. Notice Jesus agrees with the wolf people. There are wolves, and he says so out loud. But look at what he sends. Not bigger wolves, sheep. Eyes wide open, hands wide open at the same time. That's the tension Father Judd spends the whole film trying to work out. Because look where they send him. The name of the church tells you everything. Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude. Fortitude, like strength and grit, toughness. It's a church named after a clenched fist. It's run by Monsignor Wicks, a preacher whose specialty is shame. Wicks has fully bought the us against the wolves worldview and built a whole church on it. He names his people's secrets from the pulpit. He humiliates them into loyalty. And it works, well, sort of. Everyone has left except the most wounded and the most corrupt. And Judd and Wicks butt heads immediately, and it comes to a head during Holy Week. Then on Good Friday, in a seemingly impossible murder, Monsignor Wicks is found with a knife in his back, and the prime suspect is the new priest with the temper. Enter Benoit Blanc, the world's greatest detective. And there's the next juxtaposition, doubt and faith. Benoit Blanc calls himself a proud heretic who kneels at the altar of the rational. And notice he isn't hostile, he's being honest. He's asking what half the world asks. Cruelty, misogyny, violence, all of it wearing a collar. If this is what church produces, why would I want to be a part of it? Franciscan priest Brennan Manning answered that question a generation ago. He wrote this way, the greatest single cause of atheism in the world today is Christians who acknowledge Jesus with their lips, walk out the door, and deny him by their lifestyle. That is what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable. And I love that Judd doesn't argue. He owns it. You're right. The church fails. We miss the mark. And you're right, it's all storytelling. But then he asks Blanc the real question. Do these stories convince us of a lie? Or do they name something so deep and so true We can't say it any other way. The storytellers may be flawed, but the story can still be true. Which puts the question on us. Pastor Mark Batterson of National Community Church said this: "You may be the only Bible some people ever read. So are you a good translation, right? Are you living what you say you believe, or are you asleep?" Because Jesus says a terrifying thing to the church in Sardis in Revelation chapter 3. He says, "You have a reputation of being alive, but you are dead." A reputation of being alive. It is entirely possible to look alive, to sound alive, to post alive, and be dead. That's Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude. Services happen, candles are lit, and it is a tomb with a steeple. Ephesians 5, starting in verse 8, Paul writes this way: "For you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of light." And then in verse 14, Paul starts singing. Scholars tell us he's quoting one of the very first Christian worship songs. "Wake up, sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." Wake up, dead man. Rian Johnson named his movie after a Bob Dylan song, but 2,000 years before Dylan, the church was already singing these words. And notice who Paul sings it to. It's not to non-believers. He's singing it to baptized believers in Ephesus, to church people, which means you can be in the pews and asleep, in the choir and asleep, in the pulpit and still asleep. Some of us know the feeling. You're doing the things, attending and serving, giving and leading, and somewhere along the way, the engine went quiet. You're coasting. You have a reputation of being alive. The question isn't whether you're in the church, it's whether you're awake in it. You can stage a resurrection, or you can receive one. Now, back to the mystery, because the movie is about to make my point for me. After the murder, Wicks is entombed in the family mausoleum, and a few nights later, Judd sees something impossible. He sees Monsignor Wicks walk out the tomb.
Sam!
A dead man walks out of a tomb. Sounds like Easter. It's not. I won't spoil who's behind it because the reveal is worth the watch, but here's what you eventually learn. It was not Wicks. It's someone wearing the dead man's robes. The whole thing is staged, and listen to why. It is staged to preserve a legacy, to protect the church's reputation. If people believe a miracle happens, the institution survives. They staged a resurrection to protect a reputation. Church, religion has been doing that for a long time. Every cover-up to protect the brand, every performance of vitality we don't actually have, hype without health, lights without life, that's a costume walking out of a tomb. And before we point fingers at institutions, let's bring it home. Every one of us knows how to stage a resurrection, clean up the outside and call it change, white knuckle the behavior for 3 weeks and call it freedom, post the verse, play the part, new robes, same dead man. That's the name of the church confessing without knowing it. Perpetual fortitude is exhausting because fortitude can reform your image, but it cannot raise the dead. No one has ever gritted their way out of the grave. Now, put the real thing next to the fake. John chapter 11, Jesus stands in front of a tomb and the man inside is 4 days gone, no pulse to work with. And Martha objects, "Lord, there's already an odor." I love that objection because it's ours. Lord, you don't want to open this. It stinks in here. You know what's in my tomb. And Jesus says, Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God? And then he shouts at a corpse, Lazarus, come out. Wake up, dead man. The movie's man walked out in borrowed robes under his own strength to save a reputation. Lazarus walked out under someone else's power, hearing his own name because he was loved. A staged resurrection protects an image. A real one requires a voice from outside the tomb. You can stage a resurrection, or you can receive one. And here's the beautiful thing. The movie doesn't just show us the fake, it shows us then the real thing. Detective Blanc recruits Father Judd to help solve the case, and in all the chaos of chasing leads, doing, perpetual fortitude, Judd forgets who he is. And then one phone call reminds him. This is my favorite scene in the movie. It wasn't a booming voice from heaven. It was a woman on the phone that helped him slow down and remember who he was for. That's what waking up actually looks like for most of us. It's not this big staged moment. It's often a still one where the noise drops and a still small voice you'd stopped hearing says your name, and suddenly the sleepwalking becomes unbearable. And watch what wakes up with him. All movie long, Blanc pursues justice relentlessly. But at the climax, with the whole congregation assembled and the truth in his hands, Blanc does something a detective never does. He stops. He makes room for confession instead of forcing an exposure. And no spoilers, the killer steps forward on their own. Where did Blanc learn that? From watching Judd. A skeptic watched an awake Christian, and it changed how the skeptic operated. The best apologetic Blanc ever encountered wasn't an argument, it was a priest who woke up. James chapter 2 verse 13 says it in 4 words: mercy triumphs over judgment. Not mercy instead of truth. The truth still comes all the way out in the light where it belongs. But mercy builds the doorway judgment never could. Wicks's religion drags people into the light to destroy them, but grace opens the tomb and waits. So here's your one next step this week, and it's a strange one. Take time this week to slow down with God. 15 minutes, no phone, no playlist, no productivity, just you, quiet, and asking one question: God, where have I been sleepwalking? In your faith, in your marriage, in your integrity, in your calling. And then don't argue with the answer. Because Judd's whole resurrection started with one slowed down moment. Sleepers don't wake up at full speed. And when you wake up, look what God can do with the church.
Come on to the house. The only things that you can see is all that you lack.
Welcome.
Come on up to the house.
And did you catch the sign out front? They changed the name from Our Lady of Perpetual Fortitude to Our Lady of Perpetual Grace. You see, fortitude says, try harder, hold on, grit it out, stage something. Grace says you couldn't, so Christ did. Perpetual fortitude will wear you out. Perpetual grace will wake you up. And the film's final image, I still can't get over it. Throughout the film, Eve's apple is the diamond everyone was willing to kill for, the fortune named after the fall of man. The last shot shows you where it ends up, inside the chest of the crucifix. The sin that destroyed them all, buried in the body of Christ. The filmmaker may not have meant to preach, but that is 2 Corinthians 5:21 in a single camera shot. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. Everything that diamond represents, the grasping, the hiding, the fall itself, Jesus took into his own chest and on a cross. On Good Friday, the same day Wicks died staging religion, Jesus died carrying the real weight. And on the third day, nobody in a costume walked out of that tomb. No decoy, no tricks. Witnesses touched the scars. So maybe today you realize you've been sleepwalking. Reputation of being alive. Or maybe you've been staging it. New robes, same dead man, exhausted from perpetual fortitude. The oldest song the church ever sang is still playing, and it has your name on it. Wake up, sleeper. Rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. You can stage a resurrection, or you can receive one. And so, church, one of those is being offered to you right now. Which will you receive?